Check, check, check. 1, 2. Hello, hello. Yeah. Welcome one, welcome all, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Lion Villain Report, where we don't sugarcoat a damn thing. I'm the 313 villain, Russell Wayne, the UDFA of sports podcasting, the unwanted, the unfiltered, the unapologetic voice of the fan base that bleeds Honolulu blue. And today is the special trade deadline edition. That's right. We're going to talk about all of the fantastic moves that the Lions made right at the trade deadline, making our team better. I made the show later today because the trade deadline was at 4 p.m. and I wanted to make sure that I had enough time and enough research to get all of the information in there. So drop your thoughts into the live chat. And this episode is brought to you by Fanatics.com. That's right. If you're rocking with the 313 or you follow one of those other fan bases, or if you bleed that Honolulu blue, or if you bleed some of those other fan bases colors, then you need to gear up like the real one over at Fanatics, our official merch partner. So here's what you do. You click that link in the description or hit the pinned comment, use a special link, save up to 25% off of your order. Every click supports the channel, the page, and lets the world know that Detroit fans, or whatever fan you are, they do it better. They do it bigger. Villain Squad don't do knockoffs. We do official. We do Fanatics. Get yours. Oh, yeah. The Macho Man Randy Savage here to tell you the 313 Villain Squad. Yeah, the UDFA of sports podcasting. Yeah, you follow the villain on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or you get the Macho Man elbow with the cover. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, dig it. That's right. It's faith, family, and then football right here. We use football. Spend time with your family, create the memories. Don't let football use you. And here we are. Trade deadline is finally here and upon us and then over with. And you know what? I am pleased to announce, hold on a minute, breaking news right here. I'm looking at it. Let me bring it up here. All right. You ready for this? The breaking news. Let me see if I got this right here. The Lions have officially shaken the NFL to its core. A massive headline move right here. Detroit adds Jack Conley to the practice squad. Yeah, you heard that right. The league may never recover. The Lions have added an offensive lineman to the practice squad, Jack Conley. All joking aside, the big fella, let me look at this right here. Hold on, man. Let me turn this down a little bit. Yeah, you heard it right. All jokes aside, big fella played 59 games at Boston College, at some depth to where we're banged up. But hey, this ain't exactly a blockbuster move. I mean, I waited all the way until 4:20. I could have did the show this morning. That was it. Come on. You know what? I'm not going to be a negative Nancy or anything right here, but I expected to be able to talk about something here. I mean, at least last year they signed Zadarius Smith. And I mean, come on. I gotta try to get excited about this. You know, lots of big moves happening through the NFL. But let me say hello to everybody. Sorry, I didn't mean to set you guys up like that. But yes, it's 420 Faith Family Football. You like that? Trim Reaper up in the house. Central Scrutinizer.
You just made the list.
Rick C.
You like that?
Sorry about yesterday, buddy. You know what? Sometimes, like, it's not even a personal thing with comments and stuff in here. I have somewhat of a plan. Sometimes when I come in here, I try to, like, have some idea what I want to talk about, how I want to segue into stuff. And sometimes a comment will just hit perfect. And I use that comment to segue me into the next deal. And yesterday I used one of Rick's comments, and I know that he didn't mean it the way that the first comment went in there, but it segued into my talking about the Jameson Williams push off when it came to that touchdown catch that he had. And it tied in with the referee talk that I had, which really wasn't directed at anything, but I just wanted everybody to know that it's like we benefit from some of these calls too, you know? And that's why you can't complain about the referees. And that's why I brought up the fact that Jameson Williams pushed off on that touchdown. And, you know, it is what it is. But I like to talk about some of the things that aren't necessarily talked about. And no, broski, we didn't make any moves. I broke the breaking news. You want me to break it again? Here we go. Breaking. The Lions have officially shaken the NFL to its core. This is a massive deadline move. Detroit adds Jack Conley to the practice squad. Offensive lineman. Yeah, you read that right. The league may never recover.
Acknowledge me.
That's right. But like I said, the big fella played in 59 games. He's got a little bit of experience. I know it's not the big blockbuster move that you want, but it does add depth to somewhere that we really needed it. And then it looks like we're going to lose Mahogany for a longer period of time. I mean, that really sucks. That sucks for him. You know, I really thought that a couple more games with those guys together that they would have started getting it, you know. But Awasika's fine. You know, that's a fine replacement. He's somebody that's got experience, you know. One deep on the offensive line, you know, with one with one injury, we can survive that because we have a little bit of depth, you know. It does get more concerning after that, and maybe this move in a couple of weeks isn't awful. You know, we still got a couple other things, but no moves for the Lions. Nothing exciting to talk about other than that. But you know what? I might as well make everybody laugh a little bit right here. We might as well just have some fun and get into some of the new videos that I've made talking about some of these this game this week.
Yes, the Detroit Lions. Truly the living embodiment of wasted potential. Worst coaching ever. Clearly, offensive coordinator John Morton has chosen to ignore my superior strategic counsel, which, I might add, I posted in excruciating detail on the 313 Villain Squad Facebook page 3 days ago. And as for Jared Goff, subpar would be a compliment. He is obviously inferior to Matt Stafford. He is schematically flawed in nearly every conceivable dimension. And the play calling had the creativity of a reboot nobody asked for. Honestly, everyone should be fired immediately. Start over, hire me, and maybe, just maybe, this franchise would stop embarrassing my Sundays. Worst game ever.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I mean, maybe it's a little bit too much right there. Oh, well, hold on a minute. You can't even see me. You know, that sounds like half of the fan base to me out there. I mean, I love it. That's why I call Overreaction Mondays when I come in here. And then I just watch the whole internet overreact. And it's just really funny. And we overreact in both ways. You know, we're Super Bowl contenders after every win. And then we need to fire everybody, you know, need to reboot. We needed to make a whole bunch of moves at the deadline. I mean, I understand. I ain't got nothing to talk about when it comes to the trade deadline. I ain't got nothing to talk about. Rick says that we're good, Russ. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on here. Yes, I appreciate you, Rick. But I figured I may reach out to you anyway because the core foundation, and this works with the whole Lions rebuild too. But the villain squad right here, it's been a strong core foundation, and you guys are all part of the core foundation of what's being built here at the Villain Report. And that matters to me, Rick. It matters to me what you think. I love having your opinions in here because, really, I'm a talking head. My opinions suck most of the time, and we're just having some fun here, talking some football, and I love doing that. And I love talking football. That's right. Goff isn't the problem. There you go. Goff isn't the problem. I agree with that.
It's my quarterback.
It's so easy to go after a game and blame the quarterback. Oh, well, obviously it was all Goff. Well, Goff got sacked 5 times. He was under pressure over half of the snaps. So, that's real. I don't know why I can't hear myself as well this week. Check. Can you guys hear me okay? I don't care that I hear me. But let me know in there. How does the audio sound? I got a new microphone, and I appreciate everybody that supports the show, because if you didn't support the show, I wouldn't be able to afford to buy a new microphone. But I got a new microphone that I don't have to hold in my hand, and I hope it sounds good, and I appreciate you guys for that. But no, I don't think that the problem is not Goff. Goff had over 110 quarterback rating. He had 2 touchdowns. He threw for like 70% completion, and he was under duress like pretty much the whole game. And I think that the offense does need a little bit of a reboot. Maybe some different changes, but I don't think that the offense is really all that bad. But I think that Chris Jericho feels a little bit differently than I do. So I guess we'll have to hear from him about that.
Oh, Johnny boy, you want to dial up those stupid screenplays, huh? You want to do that silly little dink and dunk crap that goes nowhere? Well, do ya? Huh? You think Lion fans gonna sit here and watch another 3-yard disaster on 3rd and 8? You know what I think about that, John? You know what happens when you waste Jahmyr Gibbs' talent? When you take the ball out of Amon-Ra's hands? When you turn Ford Field into a screen pass convention? Do ya? John Morton!
You just made the list!
Awful, man. John Morton made the list. You don't want to get on Jericho with baby Jericho's list. How are you going to do that? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. John Morton throwing those screen passes. I don't know. I thought that the Minnesota Vikings were getting after it and made it kind of hard to get the ball downfield. Maybe a little bit too much dink and donkey. I don't know. I thought that Minnesota played pretty good defense when it came down to it, Chris. But, I guess you're entitled to your opinion, man. But if I do have a concern about the offense, I have a concern about the offense. But I think that comes with the offensive line to me. They haven't fully been in sync yet. We're missing Frank Ragnow in the middle, and people that can get middle pressure up on us. And Brian Flores got us with the schematics. What can I say? I'm not going to sit up here and try to make stuff up. Brian Flores usually doesn't get home with those blitzes. It usually doesn't work. We can usually pick up a lot of those blitzes. But the good thing is it didn't mess Goff up all that much. Goff took what was there. And he got sacked 5 times. Didn't throw any interceptions. You know, Goff can only do what Goff can do. So, and that messes up John Morton, anything that he wants to play. I mean, really, 3rd and 8. Yeah, you want to get a better play for that, but a lot of the stuff wasn't 3rd and 8, 3rd and 18, 3rd and 21. You know, that's why you're dialing up a lot of screenplays, because you're just, you know, you're not, there's not plays that get 3rd and 21 all the time. You know, and Minnesota came to play. I mean, honestly, I think Minnesota deserves more credit. But area of concern, if I'm honest, like, I don't even think I've seen an article on this yet. And I don't know. I think a story should be done on it. But the reason the Lions lost the game was special teams. David Phipp needs to be looked at right here. It's David Phipp. You had a blocked field goal. You had 2 returns that started Minnesota out in Lions territory. You had a 3rd return that was returned for a touchdown, and you got lucky that they called a penalty and called it back, or you'd be talking about a 3rd one. Reason that they lost the game, they only lost the game by 3 points. You had a field goal blocked. And we're talking about John Morton's offense? Sure, John Morton, you can make the list, but you're second. We'll talk about the offense later, but David Phipp, get your poop in the group, bro. I mean, you sound like a stoner when you're out there talking in the media session, and you probably don't even smoke. But no, it's special teams, man, and I'm sure that he's taking accountability for it. But you got to be better there. You can't. That's like free points, man. Free, not 3. Free. I mean, you think about it. It's your own mistakes what lost you that game, Lions. And I think that they know that. And if you just watch the game, you'll see it. It's our own mistakes. David Montgomery doesn't normally fumble. He fumbled the ball and gave them the ball on our side of the field. And then on special teams, the very first return, they returned it. He returned it into Lions territory. They scored a touchdown on that play. Now, blocked field goal. Well, you took 3 points away from us right there. A blocked field goal that got returned into our side of the field, which turned into a touchdown. That's a 10-point swing. It's David Phipp. This needs to be researched. I understand everybody gets emotional. And the first thing that you want to say is, oh, it's all Jared Goff's fault. And Ben Johnson just left, so it's obviously John Morton. But the way I look at it is special teams gave them 21 points, 24 points. So David Phipp, you know, if I'm Chris Jericho, really think about that, baby Jericho. Who you want to put on that list? Well, they are who we thought they were.
Know thy enemy.
You like that?
You've had enough of that shit.
You just made the list.
There you go. I couldn't find which one. I forgot which one of my buttons it was. But you got to hear all of them. David Phipp. What you want to? You want to get field goals blocked? Huh? You want to get some field goals blocked? What you want to give up? Three big returns and give them the ball? You want to do that? Huh? Well, David Phipp.
You just made the list.
That was awful, but whatever. You got the point. Come on, David. And that's what the villain does. The villain's going to give you what they don't give you. All the other networks talking about Brad Holmes. He should have traded for somebody. Now they're not going to win no games because they didn't trade for nobody. And, when you're playing cards, you got some teams that, like the Indianapolis Colts, 2 first-round picks, Sauce Gardner, you know? That's something, that's a big move, that's a big risk, right? But if the Indianapolis Colts don't win the Super Bowl, that's waste, right? That's a waste. 2 first-round picks. You gotta win a Super Bowl when you make moves like that. The Micah Parsons move. Those are big moves. And like, as they happen, I love how the criticism comes to a guy like Brad Holmes, who's just playing his hand. We don't know how this stuff is gonna turn out. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I 100% believe that what Brad's doing is right, but I'm not gonna say it's wrong to play his hand the way that he's playing his hand. I mean, when you think about it, he's not done playing this first hand yet. And while he's in the middle of playing his first hand, everybody says, no, just throw that hand away and go get this guy. And he's just playing his hand. He's not done playing his hand yet. And I think when he gets done playing his hand, he will have signed all of the players like Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs, along with this, and Malcolm Rodriguez, because of the frugalness that he's done over the last 3 years and not making big moves and splashy moves, I think has afforded him the opportunity to keep this core. All those guys I just mentioned, along with the ones they just signed, all the way through 2030. And I'm comfortable with that now. And that's why it surprises me when people get so up and down emotional over each loss or each not move that Brad Holmes makes. The Dallas Cowboys traded for Quinnen Williams, first and second round pick. And everybody's celebrating it, Oh, it's good. It's just a move. Made a big move. But that only gets to work for one team. And as far as where the villain's at, I'm patient with Brad Holmes in this. I'm going to let the guy play his hand. And unfortunately, as far as sports talk radio goes, that's boring because it's a 3-year hand. I mean, if everybody else is comfortable with throwing draft picks away and getting their guy, a whole bunch of teams just did that. I mean, so that's the question I'll throw out to you. I mean, which way is the right way? Being frugal, playing your hand out, what Brad Holmes is doing, or being super duper aggressive like the Philadelphia Eagles. And you can argue that their way already worked. They just won a Super Bowl that way. So being super aggressive, but that doesn't mean that that's the only way that it'll work. I believe that Brad Holmes feels that he could build a dynasty where we're not talking with one Super Bowl. We're talking about multiple Super Bowls by keeping these guys together. The core, and then filling around the core. But, Amon-Ra, Jameson, Laporta, Gibbs, Goff, Panay Sewell. Now Ratledge is in that spot. And this is 5 years here. We're talking 5 years. That's where we got these guys. That's on offense. And then you fill in the rest with the cheaper talent. And on defense, Aleem, Jack, Hutch, Tyleek now with that secondary with Branch and Kirby. He believes that that's a dynasty. So I don't know where you're at with it. Do you think that what do you think is the right way? Central Scrutinizer says the Lions just didn't play with passion and got punched in the mouth. On to the next game. That's fair. But honestly, I have the take that's out there. Tell me what you think about it. But everybody's been talking about John Morton, Jared Goff, passion and that. I think of special teams. I think that's one spot. I mean, offensive, defensive. I mean, we sacked J.J. McCarthy a bunch. They sacked us a bunch. I thought that the defenses played pretty well against the offenses. And I thought both offenses played pretty clean when it came to taking what the defense was given to them. But the Lions made more mistakes, offside or false starts and stuff like that. Lions made more mistakes in that way. But the defenses were making that happen. Both of the defenses, I thought, played pretty good in that game. But it was the special teams. It was special teams. It needs to be studied. Now, I understand the emotion about, Chris Jericho came in earlier talking about putting John Morton on the list. I get you. But to me, it's David Phipp. It needs to be studied. That was 2 big kickoff returns that started J.J. McCarthy in our territory. The blocked field goal, that was a 10-point swing. They only won by 3 points. It's special teams. That's very uncharacteristic, by the way. So DJ says that, yeah, we want a big name guy, but for what price? LOL, the Eagles are down pass rushers and corners, and they had to do that. The Colts shouldn't have gave up 2 first rounds for Sauce. He was down. Okay, so you're on the conservative side. But Zach says, why not? Brad Holmes throws picks away all the time. Moving up, getting guys on the team that aren't even utilized. That's fair.
You like that?
I like that take right there. There's nothing wrong with that take. Yeah. You move up, you use 2 third-round picks to go up and get Tesla. Now, I believe Tesla is going to be a good player, though. But if there was nobody there, there was nobody there. But that's a fair point. DJ says that we should have went in to an OT. Went in an OT, but hey, we're not trying to go 6-0 every year in the division. Yeah, we're not going to go 6-0. No, but give Jason MC Skull. I think I hit my predictions in the score. Have to go back and review it in a couple minutes. Congratulations to you, man. It's been a while since Skull has gotten a victory over the Lions. It feels good to get that monkey off your back, doesn't it? It didn't feel good to me. But I don't know. What do you think of my special teams take? I mean, I think that to me is the number one on the list right there. And then John Morton. Zach thinks John Morton is trash. I've been saying it since preseason. Terrible play calling. Well, in his defense, the offense has been pretty good up until this point. But I guess that you're entitled to that. Mark G says that we could have afforded to get rid of a couple lower end draft picks for some better depth, especially the secondary and D line. I know it's hard to get a real good O line. Yeah, O lineman is next to impossible. There's only been a few offensive lineman trades since dating back to like 2002. And yeah, it's very, very, very uncommon to get O linemen. I don't know if nobody was there, but we got some guys coming back. Gonna have to make some room for those guys that are good playmakers. We're gonna get our secondary back before the end of the season. I think they're playing it smart. If we really thought we were going to go 15-2 again, that probably wasn't a realistic take for this year because the schedule is hard. But it's a long season. Penalties and special teams lost that game. Yeah, I could argue penalties in there too. I'd probably put the penalties in there before John Morton. I mean, I don't know what you want John Morton to be able to do sometimes when they're getting pressure that quickly. I think they messed our game plan up. That's what it looked like to me on a lot of that. I mean, you want to put it on play calling? I mean, that's fine. But I think that the way that Minnesota was blitzing, it seemed like Jahmyr Gibbs wanted to go out for a pass, but couldn't, and it ended up having to block a guy he shouldn't have had block, and he just got bulldozed, man, a lot. Gibbs was not very good in pass protection. Like, I hate to say those things about Gibbs because I love Gibbs, but he got bullied in that game. But I think that has a lot to do with the way that Minnesota was playing. Because I think that they blitzed in a way that, where he has a release where he's supposed to be able to pretend block for a minute and then get out and catch a pass. Minnesota wasn't letting him do that. They were getting a guy in and forcing him to block. And every time that he was forced to block, he just didn't handle it very well. I don't know what his blocking grade was on PFF, but it couldn't have been good. But, I mean, I thought the defense was good. The Vikings defense. Trim Reaper says, I don't understand what Brad Holmes is doing, but I trust him. I understand exactly what he's doing, and it's boring. What Brad Holmes is doing is he's making a way to be able to pay Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs, and he's going to get them all into this cap in some kind of way. And really, there's not any room for, even an extra $5 million contract when it comes down to that. I think that he wants to be able to get all of those guys here long term, and there's a plan for that. Tell me what you think. I mean, it's not what you want to hear. It's boring, but don't be surprised if the Lions they'll be fine. I think they'll make it into the playoffs, and then that's where the answers are, that's where the questions are answered, is in the playoffs. And I believe that the Lions have arrived to that spot. It almost makes the regular season kind of boring when it comes to that. You got to get through these games, though. We got to secure six more wins. And they'll get into the playoffs.
It's my quarterback.
And if they, win a few in a row and, can vie for that 1 seed. Man, I don't even want the 1 seed anymore. Every time we get a bye, we come out soft. Doesn't it seem like that? Like, had the bye, earned the bye, got the 1 seed. Let's go. Come out soft. Like, there's something about it. I don't know, getting rest. Oh, there's just something about them having to go in there every week. Steve says that O-line couldn't stop anyone. Every time the Vikes sent a blitz, a 5+ Detroit looked bad. Especially on the interior. I mean, even Panay Sewell gave up a couple pressures in that game. It was odd. Everybody seemed off, even our good players. Yep. If you can't block, you can't win. And all these shiny skill guys mean nothing. That's it. That's it. You lost Mahogany for the season on top of that. They said he's going to come back, but when they say a long time, I mean, maybe they do get him back before the playoffs. But I have a feeling that spot might be okay with Coyote in there. Coyote's got playoff experience. He's been good. It's a good depth piece. We're lucky to have him. So I dig that. And something was mentioned. We got Miles Frazier becoming one of the guys to be coming back from injury. That's going to provide some depth too. The offensive play calling was really bad, and we had at least 7 screens during that game. Well, I love my. If you didn't get a chance to hear I'm going to play the Chris Jericho again, just because this one just gets me every single time. So here, this one's just for you, brother.
Oh, Johnny boy, you want to dial up those stupid screenplays, huh? You want to do that silly little dink and dunk crap that goes nowhere? Well, do ya? Huh? You think Lion fans gonna sit here and watch another 3-yard disaster on 3rd and 8? You know what I think about that, John? You know what happens when you waste Jahmyr Gibbs' talent? When you take the ball out of Amon-Ra's hands? When you turn Ford Field into a screen pass convention? Do ya? John Morton!
You just made the list!
Yeah, he made the list. He made Chris Jericho's list this week. I mean, what are you going to do about it? You know, I wouldn't put John Morton on that list. He'd be like 3rd on the list to me. David Phipp is number 1 on that list right there. Special teams let us down. Just on the blocked field goal alone, special teams, that was a 10-point swing. So, I mean, it was what it was. For the play calling, I think that we're a little bit hard on John Morton personally. Just because I think that he was forced into having to call that type of stuff. You know, when you got an offensive line you have to be able to get the ball out of your hands a lot faster. And the offensive line is the biggest concern when it comes to that. I mean, I don't know what John Morton can really call when you're getting offensive line play like that would be satisfying. I mean, you're not going to be able to call something that, has developing routes or anything like that. Everything's got to be within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage when they're getting pressure like that. But what are you going to do? So I agree. The overall team issue, The Uper Bowl. Detroit versus Green Bay on Turkey Day. That's going to be a big game. The Lions had a chance, man. Lions had a chance to take full ownership of the NFC North. And this is fair. This is fair, but like special teams, that it isn't just, the kick was blocked. You can put that on Bates. It's not, but that's not 100% on Bates. I don't know if that was a snap thing. I don't know if it was the way Bates hit it. Maybe it was the angle. Maybe it was laces in or something. I mean, I don't know. There could have been anything wrong with that, but it wasn't just that. It was also the 3 big returns. I mean, the very first return that they had, they returned it all the way into Lions territory. And J.J. McCarthy punched that in for a touchdown. I mean, so Broski says he thinks it's ridiculous Lions aren't making significant moves at the deadline. The goal shouldn't be re-signing every player that you drafted. It should be winning a Super Bowl. Well, both things are true, Broski. I mean, and honestly, really, take your ego out of it for a second. I'm taking my ego out of it. This is what Brad Holmes is doing. And for me to say that it's ridiculous, I'm not gonna question what he's doing right now because he's playing his hand differently than everybody else. Now, it remains to be seen if jumping in and throwing away some first-round draft picks and just throwing the draft picks around, if that's going to work. You can argue that it worked for Philadelphia, but Philadelphia wasn't the only team that just threw draft picks at an idea of a Super Bowl. And it doesn't work more often than it does work. And then you're left without draft picks. And then you're without a future. So, I mean, you can argue that it works, but you can also argue that it doesn't work because only one team wins the Super Bowl. And, and his plan is to sign those guys. Everybody says that they're not going to be able to sign all those guys. They're going to have to make the decision and everything. But, Hutch's contract says something otherwise. Maybe the salary cap is fake because it does seem like Philadelphia can be $100 million over the cap and it don't matter. And they still sign another guy that has 20 plus million. I mean, but hey, Broski, what if this is the all in? What if the all in is on your guys? What if you're all in on your team, which is they just signed Hutchinson to a $45 million a year contract? To me, that's all in. That's all in. And this coming up off season, they're going all in. They are all in right now. They have some guys that have been working. I am putting a lot of this on the special teams, but if it wasn't for the special teams giving up the stuff, the Lions would have probably won that game by 10 points. You got two special teams plays that started the Vikings out in Lions territories. They scored touchdowns on both of those. The blocked field goal turned into a touchdown. It's 21 points. 21 of their points was set up directly by the special teams. Whether it was a block kick or just a kickoff return, they're lucky it wasn't 4. They had the one touchdown that got called back because of the little hold. Real kind of tic-tacky kind of hold. Bailed out the Lions. It could have been another special teams touchdown. Yeah, but maybe the cap isn't real. Maybe Broski's right. Maybe the Lions should have just paid that first round pick for Hendrickson. I mean, but the thing is like, I'm not going to criticize him until the move's over. I can't say it doesn't work. Just because Dallas Cowboys traded for Quinnen Williams, does that make them Super Bowl contenders? You know, the Colts started out really, really well this year. And they just traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. Is that going to work? I mean, the Packers just traded 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons. Is that going to work? It's not going to work for somebody. Y'all can't win the Super Bowl. So Brad Holmes chose not to do anything. Is that going to work? I don't know. We'll find out. The drama. Dun, 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 dun. Who's going to be right? So, I mean, just by percentage, Broski, and I'm not even giving you a hard time with this. This is just a fact of life. You know, 5 teams go out. Denver, Seattle, Philly, Colts. They made big-time moves. Well, guess what? Only one of them gets to win the Super Bowl. And I'm going to add the Lions to that list. So, Denver, Seattle, Philly, Colts, and the Packers all made giant moves, and the Lions stood pat and believed in their farm system. So, let's just say that's 6 different scenarios. So, 20%, you got a 20% chance for that to be a reality for you, that spending all of the draft capital works. It's an interesting conversation. But it doesn't always work. Actually, more times than not, it doesn't work. And sometimes just building your time. I mean, the Patriots did that for years. They never traded for nobody. They just built their farm. So what they do is they wait till they get to the end of their contracts, and then they would trade off their assets before they would want the big contracts, and they'd get more draft picks. Kept restocking the fire. And I think that's the way that Brad Holmes is trying to do it. What he's trying to do is build round 1. He's not done with round 1 yet. You know, you haven't gotten to your limit yet. And I think once they have all of those guys under control, and to your guys' point, I do believe that the cap is fake, but you still got to make it work. Then you have your core. And I think once they have that core of those, you know, the original OG guys, I'm talking, you got 2021, 2022, and your 2023 guys. Like, you want to keep the pieces from those teams as your core to go forward. And once they have those pieces locked in, I think that they'll be a little more apt to be aggressive if it was. But I think they want to make sure they can secure those guys first. All of them. And if you do that, you are going to have to draft well, and you're going to need draft capital to do that, to keep your price points down. Because if you do pay all of those guys, you are going to fit them in there. Like Dan said, we'll pay them until we run out of money. And there's a chance that just doing that, just trying to keep those core guys, they may run out of money. And then have to dip into a big part of the credit, which is okay. Philadelphia is doing that right now. They're dipping into the credit. Well, we haven't spent all the money yet in the credit. And I understand not wanting to go and get a guy that hasn't been here. Especially if you value that practice squad and you value the next man up mentality, which seems to be working. Like, I could sit up here and criticize it all day, but it's working. And I'm not going to let one bad game be the decider just because it's recency bias. Oh, they just lost, so everybody needs to panic. No. I think they got the right guys, the right mentality, and they have it for 5 years. I think this plan is a 5-year plan. All of these guys have contracts that they're going to be having come out and be done at 2030. That's all of the core guys. And if you're not part of that plan, he's just not playing that game. But boy, it would be exciting to be talking about, oh, wow, we spent 2 first-round draft picks and we got Sauce Gardner. Wouldn't that be? Yes, Josh. Yes. The Lions have lost 3 games. The Lions are 5 wins. They won 5 games. They won 5 games. And as a matter of fact, 2 of the games were very, very good wins against good teams. Whatever you want to say about Baltimore, we got Baltimore when they were strong. They had Lamar Jackson. So, like, if we're gonna just bag on them for all 3 of the losses that they had, then that's fine. If that's what you want to look at and say that's all that he is, because they lost those 3 games, that's fine. But recency bias doesn't fool me. I guess I'm thinking more of an injury standpoint. Zeitler for Mahogany and Arden Key for Davenport because he can't stay healthy. I mean, that's fun. That sounds logical. That sounds logical, but Davenport is coming back, and Coyote is a proven veteran that's played in playoff games that's going to be replacing Mahogany. We have the depth to cover it right now. They picked up a practice squad guy in an unsexy move, but it is what it is, man. I'm definitely. I'll leave the criticizing for Chris Jericho and our comic book guy for that, because I'm not ready to criticize him, but I'm not going to praise him. I'm not going to say, "Oh wow, good job, Brad. Way to stand pat. You're so poised." I mean, I'm curious to see how this is going to be, how it's going to turn out. But Davenport's on the team, broski. I'm sorry I got to cover news, okay? Davenport got injured again. But he's close to coming back from that injury. So maybe he'll play 8 more snaps, or he'll trip and fall on the way out to the huddle and break his leg. But the news is we're going to get Davenport back within the next couple weeks. I'm sorry I have to report the news, Broski. Josh Pascal is coming back as well. That's another player that's going to come back for the D-line. Ahmed Hassanin, our 6th-round draft pick, is also going to be making his way back onto the roster here soon. He's getting close. Well, thank you for forgiving me, broski. I mean, I gotta report the news no matter what. And it's like, Davenport is Davenport, isn't he? Isn't he? Isn't the quantification? That's the right word. of Davenport's career was he was injured while sacking the quarterback. His job is to sack the quarterback, and he's actually really good at sacking the quarterback for all 8 plays that he plays. He averages like a sack every 3 games in his career, but the only thing is he only plays 3 games. So he gets his sack, or he gets 2 sacks, and then he gets injured. But even on the 1 year where he had his breakout year, he got injured in that year too. He's never played a full season. So I get Brosty coming in here. I mean, I can't look at Davenport as anything other than a guy that lost his job to Al-Quadin Muhammad. Now we'll see if what happens when Josh Pascal gets back. I don't know where he'll slide in. He might be the starter over Al-Quadin Muhammad, but I don't know. So, I mean, in Brad Holmes' defense, we got some guys coming back. So I won't mention it. I won't mention Davenport as a serious guy coming back. But you got Malcolm Rodriguez coming back. You got Josh Pascal is also coming back. You know, you got to make room for DJ Reed coming back in the cornerback. Khalil Dorsey's coming back. We got Thompson coming back. Is a safety. So there's lots of roster spots that we're going to have to, you know, make room for to get them on the roster. And some of the guys that have been playing well are going to, you know, unfortunately get dropped back down to the practice squad again. That sucks because some of those guys have been playing good. You know, I like a Pat O'Connor. You know, I think Lacey's been playing well. You got some of these guys that have came in and, you know, like Tyrus Wheat, getting a sack and a half. So, you know, some of these practice squad guys came in and showed out, you know, Nick Whiteside. You know, I'm not going to, I mean, really the defense played pretty good. You know, I mean, they had some short fields that they had to contend with. You know, the only points they really gave up were, you know, on drives where McCarthy started in our territory and usually left in a bad spot. You know, so I'm not going to put too much on the defense. And I'm not going to give John Morton a full pass either. I'm just going to say that I don't think that it's as much his fault as it is, you know, special teams putting us in some pretty bad positions. I'll put O-line in there. So special teams, O-line, penalties, and then I'll criticize John Morton after that. He's 4th on the list in my concerns. You know, maybe even 5th. I'll put Gibbs. Gibbs was very concerning in the pass protection. But like I said, I think that Minnesota deserves credit for that. You know, they schematically did that. I think a lot of those plays where Jahmyr Gibbs got caught trying to block somebody were plays that he would normally just like fake block and then go out for a pass. And Minnesota was sending these exotic blitzes that were forcing him to block, and he didn't do it well. It wasn't very good at all. But it is what it is. What are you going to do? But I don't know. It's been a fun episode talking about this. Corey Patterson's in there. Oh, you were talking. I'm sorry. I try not to get it. Your conversations in there. The O-line draft pick from West Virginia. No, we got a guy named Miles Frazier coming back. He was LSU, I think. I thought he was LSU. He might be talking about somebody different. And there you go. Do you believe we're going to make the Super Bowl straight up? Yes or no? And I do. I believe in what Brad Holmes is putting out here. And maybe I'm just a homer for that. And it is what it is. But I'm willing to let Brad Holmes play his hand. And I think his hand is to find a way to have all of the core guys from 2021, 22, and 23 under contract. I believe they will sign Laporta, Campbell, Branch, and Gibbs. I think they'll even get Rodriguez in there. And if anybody has proven that was possible, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Kind of proven that the salary cap's fake. But those are going to be big contracts, and it's going to look tight when you go to over the cap. But they'll get all those guys under contract, and that's our core. Then you got to draft. After that, you got to draft because that's the only way you're going to get cheap guys. And I'm not going to fault Brad Holmes for believing in his draft process, because if there's a way that you can get all four of those or five of those guys that I just mentioned under contract, along with what you already have, then I'm gonna, I'll give you the kudos all day long. Because if he can pull that off, I'll say, good job, Brad Holmes. Because I bet on the guys that have been here. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, yes, I believe that they'll make the Super Bowl. And I believe that he believes that this core can have a dynasty here. It isn't just me being a homer. I believe that they believe that. Detroit Fan Report. And it's great to see you on here. Thank you for being on here.
You like that?
Mark G. Corey, it's good to see you on here too, Trim Reaper. Yeah. I'm trying to get back into the NBA, broski. I am. Because I want to cover all the sports. And I do like basketball. I play basketball better than I play football, that's for sure. I can ball a little bit. I can shoot. But we got the Pistons around here, and the Pistons are looking kind of dangerous. So are the Red Wings. And the Tigers got a nice young roster too, no matter how you feel about the Scooble situation. But I may start talking about some of that stuff, like the Scooble contract. Maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow. I can have a baseball or a basketball conversation. But let me know what you guys want to talk about when it comes to the future. Give me some ideas. Because I'm coming to the end right here. This is the Lion Villain Report. It's usually PFF Tuesday, but it became Trade Deadline Tuesday because nobody wants to say fake football facts. Lions didn't have any good grades in there anyway, if you can guess. But just I'm just letting you know that when we're on here live, you guys can control this more than you think. More than you think. But this episode is brought to you by fanatics.com. That's right. That QR code up there in the corner. You want to support the show? You want to help me get stuff like this fancy mic that I have right here? When you use that link, you're helping support the show. Every click and every one of those QR codes helps the channel, helps the page, and I appreciate that. People that support the show with that. But yeah, save up to 25% off of your order from our affiliate marketing partners right there over at Fanatics. It's faith, family, and then football on here in that order. But faith first, family, and then football. Don't let football change you, especially when you lose. Don't let it change you. Use it, create some memories, and don't let it use you. Use football. And may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again in Jesus' name. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following along. Thank you for asking questions. Peace out. See you tomorrow.
Yes, the Detroit Lions. Truly the living embodiment of wasted potential. Worst coaching ever. Clearly, offensive coordinator John Morton has chosen to ignore my superior strategic counsel, which, I might add, I posted in excruciating detail on the 313 Villain Squad Facebook page 3 days ago. And as for Jared Goff, subpar would be a compliment. He is obviously inferior to Matt Stafford. He is schematically flawed in nearly every conceivable dimension. And the play calling had the creativity of a reboot nobody asked for. Honestly, everyone should be fired immediately. Start over, hire me, and maybe, just maybe, this franchise would stop embarrassing my Sundays. Worst game ever.
Oh, Johnny boy! You want to dial up those stupid screenplays, huh? You want to do that silly little dink and dunk crap that goes nowhere? Well, do ya? Huh? You think Lion fans gonna sit here and watch another 3-yard disaster on 3rd and 8? You know what I think about that, John? You know what happens when you waste Jahmyr Gibbs' talent? When you take the ball out of Amon-Ra's hands? When you turn Ford Field into a screen pass convention? Do ya? John Morton,